Good morning. It's hard to believe, but we only have 5 days left of this fast. As we approach the Nativity of Christ, I wanted to bring forward a passage that maybe lightly incorporated itself with the Nativity. And in searching, I was surprised to come across a passage that we're about to read, coming from the book of Acts. And I also want to use this as an opportunity to highlight the value of the Orthodox Study Bible. So together, let us read from Acts chapter 13, and we'll start with verse 1. Now in the church that was at Antioch, there were certain prophets and teachers: Barnabas, Simeon, who was called Niger, Lucius of Cyrene, Manaen, who had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch, and Saul. As they ministered to the Lord and fasted, the Holy Spirit said, "Now separate to me Barnabas and Saul for the work to which I have called them." Then, having fasted and prayed and laid hands on them, they sent them away. And we'll look no further than the footnotes to understand the connection first with the Nativity. Manaen was raised with Herod Antipas, tetrarch from 4 BC to 39 AD, the son of Herod, who slaughtered the infants in Bethlehem. Manaen was one of the early Christians with noble family connections. And so immediately we see here within the book of Acts that there's this direct connection, that these early prophets and preachers and teachers, they weren't just people who had heard the good word, but they were there as witnesses from the very beginning. And we'll continue on to understand the connection now to the Nativity fast itself. Ministered, liturgundon, which literally means performed liturgical acts. It is the same root word from which liturgy is derived. The phrase here in verse 13:2 would more accurately be translated as they performed the liturgy to the Lord and fasted. Liturgical worship did not originate in Antioch. Its roots are in ancient Israel. Saul and Barnabas, who came from Jerusalem, taught the Antiochian Christians, among other things, true worship. Note, too, that fasting and liturgy are inseparable. It is in the midst of this liturgy that the Holy Spirit speaks. Separate means to set apart for special service. And continuing on for the footnote of verse 3, laid hands on them is a reference to the sacrament of ordination, while contemporary Orthodox practice is usually to ordain no more than one person to a specific rank at a given liturgy. Here was a case of multiple ordinations. Note that even Saul, later called Paul, who had a direct call to serve from Jesus Christ, still had to experience ordination in the church. And even we see that within this liturgical function, this sacramental function, there's yet again an emphasis, an incredible emphasis on fasting. Twice within these 3 verses do we hear fasting connected with what it is that we do here within the church proper. We also see and understand as Orthodox Christians that any time we hear this word sacrament or liturgy, what we're bearing witness to is the presence, the full presence of the Holy Spirit. And so there's again this need to prepare the self to receive the Holy Spirit. Because it's this sort of thing when faced with something so pure, something so true, something so powerful, that we, as people of this earth and people of this world, we're called to recognize that this is an existence that is outside of what we would consider natural or physical, I think is probably a better way to put it. The physi, if you will, right? This temporal existence, while beautiful in its own right, as it is absolutely part of God's creation, is incomplete on its own. And so, in order for us to acknowledge this higher existence, the spiritual nature of things, we subdue that which is physical. And there is no easier way to do this than the fast and to participate in it. And so in this season now of the forefeast of the Nativity, I want to bring forth yet another text, one which is actually read before, or rather during the preparation service at the prothesis, also referred to as proskomidi, wherein which the priest prepares the gifts of the bread, the wine, and the water to be presented during the divine liturgy itself. It also happens to be the Apolotikion, the festal hymn, which is sung during this time period where we find ourselves, which is referred to as the forefeast of the Nativity. And this is a 3-day period existing between the 20th and the 23rd. And so the Apolotikion remains to be the same for these next 3 days. And I just want to share this with you so that way we can, again, better understand the spiritual weight of what it is that we're preparing for. Prepare, O Bethlehem. Eden is open to all. Adorn yourself, O Ephrathah, for in the cave the tree of life has blossomed forth from the Virgin. Her womb has been revealed as a noetic paradise, wherein lies the divine seedling. If we partake of it, we shall live. If not, then we shall die as Adam. Christ is born, restoring the once fallen image. And so it is in pursuit of this restorative process that I wish you all good strength and pray that we may find encouragement to prepare ourselves adequately to receive Christ, the true King. May the intercessions of our beloved and holy God-bearer Ignatius be with each and every one of you.